After the decline of the Ottoman Caliphate, when the Middle East was divided into pieces, numerous Arab countries emerged. These Arab nations were divided among the two conquering powers, Britain and France, and gradually established their presence. With time, they formed alliances and began working towards achieving autonomy. After the Second World War, the global landscape underwent a transformation. The old imperial powers, particularly Britain and France, were instructed by the United States to decolonize and transfer power to local entities. Amid their efforts to rebuild their devastated nations, the Marshall Plan provided substantial funds for this purpose. This marked the beginning of American governance through economic control. As nations gained independence from imperial powers, the world was divided into two opposing forces. These two powers were primarily defined by their economic systems and military strengths. One was the United States, representing capitalist ideologies and championing market economy, while the other was the Soviet Union, advocating socialist economics and seeking to spread the rule of the working class worldwide. From the ashes of the global war, a Cold War emerged, gripping the world for 47 years from 1945 to 1992. Although a major direct conflict between the two powers did not occur, proxy wars raged across various nations, spanning from Angola and Chile to Iraq and Afghanistan, involving struggling and impoverished countries soaked in fire and blood. In the Middle East, the United States established its foothold and influence. The Arab sheikhs, who held vast oil reserves beneath their lands, were divided into small states after World War I. The ones with abundant oil wealth were turned into small, weak countries, including Qatar, Kuwait, Bahrain, Muscat, Dubai, Abu Dhabi, and 5 associated states. Additionally, 3 major countries in the region, Saudi Arabia, Iraq, and Iran, boasted significant oil resources. In Saudi Arabia, the American company Aramco had established its presence long before the Second World War, on May 29, 1933. In Iran, Reza Shah Pahlavi was in power, serving American interests and maintaining control since 1941. With the establishment of Israel in 1948, a strong American foothold in the region was cemented. The fear of Soviet Union's theoretical revolutions haunted these monarchies, as such upheavals required only a military coup and had been seen in neighboring countries. The monarchies were fragile, as they were established not by public consent but through coercion. The rulers were constantly apprehensive of uprising against them. The United States utilized this fear effectively, aligning it with its interests. A single military coup against a minor Arab state's ruler could have set the stage for a broader shift in the Middle East's power dynamics. Hence, when Mohammad Mossadegh became Prime Minister of Iran in 1952, the CIA intervened under the banner of Operation Ajax, overthrowing him a year later on August 19, 1953, and reinstating Mohammad Reza Shah Pahlavi. In the Middle East, while the Soviet threat kept every country on edge, actual power, dominance, and control remained in the hands of the United States. The American power took its first hit with Ayatollah Khomeini's 1979 Iranian Revolution. Yet, even this revolution served America's interests due to its foreign policies. Iran expanded its revolutionary sphere to other Islamic countries, destabilizing Arab regimes dependent on American support. This persistent proxy warfare in the Middle East, while maintaining Arab countries' security, also served American interests, as it curtailed Iran's growth and weakened its economy. The continuous warfare seemed to stabilize the region for the United States. However, the Soviet Union's decline in 1992 shifted the balance. The United States now sought a new sphere to control the region. With Iran's entrance into Iraq, it initiated a series of revolutionary conflicts. The United States maintained control, as long as the Arab sheikhs continued to fear Iran. The second invasion of Iraq in 2003 crushed Saddam's power, enabling Iran to expand its influence. Iran's entry into Iraq marked the beginning of a period of turmoil in the Middle East. With time, Iran managed to influence Iraq, Syria, Bahrain, Lebanon, and Yemen through proxy warfare. Although the region seemed embroiled in conflict, this was essentially a proxy war, with the United States benefiting from maintaining Arab states under its influence. This unending warfare, coupled with Afghanistan's unyielding resistance against Soviet occupation, eroded American dominance. It was apparent that China was rising, and the United States needed to halt its growth. However, by 2019, it was too late, and China had grown in power significantly. When the Zionists took control of the American economy and politics, they began practical steps to establish a global dominion in the Middle East. The Balfour Declaration by Britain was based on the belief of Jewish financiers that they would provide support to America's military and financial aid in the war, and in return, Britain and other allied nations would assist in the establishment of Israel in the Holy Land of the Jews. So, on May 14, 1948, when the Israeli state was proclaimed in Tel Aviv, this state emerged not from the Holy Land of Jerusalem, but from a barren desert miles away. However, within just 19 years of its establishment, in 1967, Israel defeated the joint forces of Arab nations, not only capturing Jerusalem but also annexing the Golan Heights from Syria and Sinai Desert from Egypt. This was the first war between Arab nationalism and Jewish religious forces. At the beginning of this war, Gamal Abdel Nasser addressed the citizens of Egypt, saying, "O sons of Pharaoh, you are at war with the descendants of your Moses." And then, Allah did what he had done with the progeny of Pharaoh before. Israel had become a power in the Middle East, influencing American policies in the region. When humiliation was imposed upon the Jews, Allah had said, "They will continue to have humiliation on them wherever they are, unless they repent or the protection of men is provided to them." Quran 3:112. The Jews did not seek refuge with Allah, but they sought refuge with powerful humans, who turned out to be the United States. This American patronage came to them because American politics, economy, and even media were under the control of Zionist Jewish forces. Just as Allama Iqbal had said, the lifeline of Europe is in the hands of Jewish power. American patronage was not the destination for all Jews, but a means to take them closer to their actual destination. Their true destination is the establishment of a government in Jerusalem similar to the government of Solomon, ruling over the whole world as the sole superpower. To complete this plan, America needs to gradually withdraw its presence and powerful role from the Middle East and hand over its existence and powerful role to Israel. This pleasant withdrawal program of America began with the Abraham Accord on August 13, 2020, involving America, Israel, and the Arab Emirates, and then Bahrain became part of it in September of the same year. Thus, two Muslim governments accepted Israel's dominance in the region, and now the protective responsibility that was once with America is now with Israel. After this, just like Jordan and Egypt, Morocco and Sudan also acknowledged Israel. Oman is still hesitating on this path. Saudi Arabia was being continuously pressed to join this Abraham Accord. Several frightening events, like the death of a journalist, were used to compel them. Iran's threat had been haunting them for the past 20 years. But due to growing relations with Israel, Saudi Arabia's population could be incited, leading to any outcome. To address this duty, even Pakistan was asked for help, that if Pakistan acknowledges Israel, then we can use that as an excuse to take this step. Riyadh's famous meeting involving only 4 individuals, one of whom, Imran Khan, refused to do so, leading him to be blamed for this audacity. Saudi Arabia faced a difficult situation. If they acknowledged Israel, there was a risk of internal rebellion. If they didn't, it meant American displeasure, meaning defense assistance would cease, and then Iran's support to the Houthis, possibly even an attack on Saudi Arabia itself or Shia uprisings in Saudi Arabia's east. In such circumstances, the decision was tough, and then suddenly, the war between Russia and Ukraine began, blocking the path of American expansionist ambitions. This war opened diplomatic fronts for both sides. The heads of Russia and China also went on a journey to seek assistance from various nations. American President Biden and the Secretary of State initiated diplomatic efforts as well. Iran had already established strong ties with China and Russia. At this point, Mohammed bin Salman also started contacts with China and Russia. In light of these events, Biden started a stormy tour of the Middle East and arrived in Riyadh on July 19, 2022, demanding that Mohammed bin Salman increase oil production to reduce the demand for Russian oil and tackle the economic challenges. Mohammed bin Salman refused, saying that it could worsen our economic problems. If you want to compete with Russia, then bring your own oil to the market. This marked the second major failure of American diplomacy in Saudi Arabia. The first failure was in 1973 when Shah Faisal used oil as a weapon, leading to train queues at European petrol pumps. Saudi Arabia needed a global power that could provide not only defensive protection but also save it from Iran's threat. America did not want to do both things at the same time because Iran's threat was what could force Saudi Arabia to bow before America. From here, China's successful and brilliant diplomacy began. It was a remarkable manifestation of a country's clean and powerful diplomacy. China was the first to initiate the process of reconciliation between Saudi Arabia and Iran to free Saudi Arabia from Iran's fear. The past few days have seen Saudi Arabia and Iran sign an agreement, wherein Iran assures that it will stop aiding all military groups fighting in Yemen and Saudi Arabia. In the wake of this war, up to this point, 370,000 individuals have lost their lives. When the White House was informed of this news, they expressed concerns that Iran might not remain true to its promise. Mohammed bin Salman, who was once a friend of Donald Trump, is now being accused of collaborating with Jared Kushner to undermine Biden. However, a serious group asserts that due to Biden's intimidation and the failure of the policy of rapprochement, Saudi Arabia has united with Iran. The head of the Council on Middle East Studies, Stephen Cook, has warned that the next century belongs to China, and it is possible that the petrodollar could come to an end and oil could be sold in Chinese yuan. The U.S. State Department believes that the speed of China's foreign policy can be gauged from the fact that they have already gained immediate benefits from the minor dispute between America and Saudi Arabia. When the United States contacted Saudi Arabia shortly after the treaty, Mohammed bin Salman presented a long list of demands to the Americans. Among the most important of these demands was that we want a civilian nuclear program, complete defense responsibility, and minimal restrictions on arms sales. Israel will not allow the United States to accept these conditions. It wants America to leave the region, but as it departs, it intends to entangle Iran, Pakistan, and Saudi Arabia in wars to create chaos and devastation, enabling Israel to fulfill its dream of a global government. Meanwhile, at any moment, a conflict with Iran could begin, and Pakistan and India could be pushed towards a heated war along the border.